Hello and welcome. This is the For We Are Many podcast. We will be your hosts today. My name is Rob.
Hi, my name is Trisha.
And we're here to talk about what's happening in the world around us. I guess to put it in simple terms. Every Monday we do this current event stream. Every Thursday we have our Revolutionary Left book club, which right now we are reading Seize the Time, the story of the Black Panther Party by Bobby Seale. It's proven to be quite informative, and it's sparked a lot of good discussions. So if you haven't tuned into those yet, they're all available on our YouTube and our Facebook. They're all available on podcast platforms. I encourage you to check those out, as well as our historical pieces. Speaking of which, we have a follow-up to the Pullman strike piece coming out on Wednesday. That's part 1 of 2 in a series of the evolution of Eugene Debs after the Pullman strike. What else do we have coming up, Trisha?
Part 2 following that, obviously, the following Wednesday. Every Thursday, we've got the Revolutionary Left Book Club. We're working on part 8 of Bobby Seale's book this Thursday. Other than that, I do believe we are setting up one for the AFL-CIO on the books to come after we finish this series here.
Yeah, pretty much the struggle there comes down to resources and time. There's only a limited number of us that actively do the research to put these pieces together. So, if you are able in any way, shape, or form to help us out, in covering the overhead expenses, we're all working class individuals just like you. We have a Patreon. It's right here on your screen, patreon.com/forwearemany. We're on Facebook. We have our page, which you're probably watching this on. We have our education and discussion group. We have our mutual aid organizing group. We're on Twitter @ForWeAreMany2, Instagram @ForWeAreManyPodcast, TikTok @ForWeAreManyPodcast, YouTube for We Are Many Podcast, and of course our website forwearemany.org.
Also, if you'd like to contribute by getting down with us on any of this work, if you'd like to join us and help with production, help with the media stuff, as far as, sharing posts out for all of the events that we have going on, if you'd like to help with writing, any of that, let us know.
Yeah.
We have room for growth.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And, we're trying to amplify voices on the left. That doesn't just mean, communists. That doesn't just mean socialists. That doesn't just mean anarchists. Pretty much, if you are a progressive liberal that sees issues with capitalism or left of that, then we want to hear what you have to say.
Indeed. Right, that's a large focus of what we're doing here is to help unite the left. A lot of that goes to learning about our roots, which is why we're doing the labor history pieces. But it also shows where we can move forward from here. If we can look at the divisions that happened before, as well as the unifications that happened before, we can learn better ways to unite together now, because our strength is in our numbers. Plain and simple. And the only way we're going to get a real leftist voice heard on the national level is to come together. There might be slightly differing perspectives on, individual issues, but when it comes to uniting the working class as a whole, we need to come together and fight for our rights.
Well said. Well said. Emily said hello. Hello, Emily.
Hi, Em.
First piece of today, I think that I want to dive in is a really current event so far. But there is a meme going around, which I will show you in a minute, about Clara Zetkin. I had no idea who she was today, or until today. So I felt compelled to talk about her. She was a very strong advocate of women's rights. She's a founding member of the Communist Party of Germany. She's kind of just all around a badass.
Well,
the meme that I saw is this. I mean, honestly, I just typed her name in Wikipedia. There's plenty of information on the page.
Right out.
But yeah, that's let's see. Clara Zetkin was born July 5th, 1857. She was a German Marxist theorist, a communist activist, and advocate for women's rights. Until 1917, she was active in the Social Democratic Party of Germany. She then joined the Independent Social Democratic Party of Germany and its far left wing, the Spartacus League. This later became the Communist Party of Germany, or the KPD, which she represented in the Reichstag during the Weimar period from 1920 to 1933. She was born in the oldest of three children in a peasant village in Saxony. Her father was a schoolmaster, church organist, and devout Protestant, while her mother had French roots, came from a middle-class family, and was highly educated. She was educated at the Leipzig, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Teachers College for Women. While in school, she established contacts with the infant SPD, which is the Social Democratic Party of Deutschland, or Germany. Because of the ban placed on socialist activity in Germany by Bismarck in 1878, Zetkin left for Zurich in 1882 and then went into exile in Paris, where she studied to be a journalist and translator. During her time in Paris, she played an important role in the foundation of the Socialist International Group. She also adopted the name of her lover, the Russian-Jewish Osip Zetkin, a devoted Marxist with whom she had two sons, Maxim and Konstantin. Osip Zetkin became severely ill in early 1889 and died in June of that year. Following the loss of her husband, Zetkin moved to Stuttgart with her children. She was married to artist George Frederick Zundel, who was 18 years her junior, from 1899 to 1928. So, I mean, I'm not gonna go too in depth into her whole career because we absolutely don't have time to do that and discuss current events. So we might do a more in-depth piece on her in the future because I found her to be a very intriguing character, honestly.
Sounds like a plan. Hell yeah.
But she believed that the fight for equal opportunities and women's suffrage should happen through a socialist means. She helped to develop the Social Democratic Women's Movement in Germany from 1891 to 1917. She edited the SPD Women's Newspaper, which the title translates to equality. And in 1907, she became the leader of the newly founded Women's Office at the SDP. She also contributed to International Women's Day. In August 1910, an International Women's Conference was organized to precede the general meeting of the Socialist Second International in Copenhagen, Denmark. Inspired in part by American socialist actions, so we're talking about Eugene Debs here. I'm just saying it totally ties into what we've been talking about. Zetkin, Kate Dunker, and others proposed that a special Women's Day be organized annually, although no date was specified at the conference. Delegates, including 100 women from 17 countries, agreed with the idea as a strategy to promote equal rights, including suffrage for women. The following year, on 19 March 1911, IWD was marked for the first time by over 1 million people in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland. IWD was International Women's Day. However, Zetkin was deeply opposed to the concept of bourgeois feminism, which he claimed was a tool to divide the unity of the working class. In a speech she delivered to the Second International in 1889, she stated, "The working women who aspire to social equality expect nothing for their emancipation from the bourgeois women's movement, which allegedly fights for the rights of women. That edifice is built on sand and has no real basis. Working women are absolutely convinced that the question of the emancipation of women is not an isolated question which exists in itself, but part of a great social question. They realize perfectly clear that this question can never be solved in contemporary society, but only after a complete social transformation." She viewed the bourgeois feminist movement as being primarily composed of upper and middle class women who had their own class interests in mind, which were incompatible with the interests of working class women. Thus, feminism and the socialist fight for women's rights were incompatible. In her mind, socialism was the only way to truly end the oppression of women. One of her primary goals was to get women out of the house and into work so they could participate in trade unions and other workers' rights organizations in order to improve conditions for themselves. While she argued that the socialist movement should fight to achieve reforms that would lessen female oppression, she was convinced that such reforms could only prevail if they were embedded into a general move towards socialism. Otherwise, they could just easily be eradicated by future legislation. Which I want to point out that she was talking about this in 1889. Okay, and it kind of like harkens forward to Lenin a little bit, talking about how, you know, bourgeois reforms can just be overturned.
Right.
Like, she was really a visionary.
Hell yeah, from the sounds of it.
She opposed World War I, as did most global socialists, including the Russians. That's why they got out of the World War as soon as the revolution happened, basically. But she spoke at the International Women's Peace Conference in Switzerland, and her first question was, who profits from this war? Only a tiny minority in each nation, the manufacturers of rifles and cannons, of armor plate and torpedo boats, the shipyard owners, and the suppliers of the armed forces' needs. In the interest of their profits, they have fanned the hatred among the people, thus contributing to the outbreak of war. The workers have nothing to gain from this war, but they stand to lose everything that is dear to them.
Ain't that the fucking truth?
I mean, she's really like an architect, if you think about it, of Marxist feminism.
Right. Absolutely.
Which, I mean, if you trace it back just a little bit farther than her, you'll find someone who's a little less influential, but was talking along the same lines, and that's Eleanor Marx, as in the wife of Karl Marx.
Right.
So, I mean, the point is, though, is that she very early grasped onto these concepts and was like, fuck yeah, this is the only option. And I think how our society treats men today shows that she was right.
Right. No argument there. It's kind of prophetic, the things that she was speaking on that we're still working on in some areas today.
Right. So I'm going to get the most depressing section out of the way first, if that's cool with you. You already know it's climate change. You saw the articles.
Yeah. The whole fucking continent is on fire.
Yeah, I don't even think I put that. I need to, can you send those screenshots to me from the chat to the Zoom chat? Anyway, we're moving into climate change, and I mean, we used to have this subtitle on here that it was an international, holy shit, I can't talk, crisis. We used to have that subtitle on there for a long time, and we kind of got rid of it. But I think recent events are showing that it's more of an international crisis than we even wanted to admit. Like, we're still talking about how climate change is, decades away, but it's not. It's here. It's here right now. Give me just a second.
By the way, I'm going to have to join again from my phone in order to pop those in there. So just a heads up, I'll be in the waiting room again in a moment.
I just made you co-host. You can let yourself in.
Cool, that works. We'll find that.
So I guess the first place to start in my mind is with the heat records being set in the Pacific Northwest. And I mean, this article that I'm using as a source for this only briefly, yes, Natalie, we see your comment. But they only briefly talk about Canada, and they only talk about the British Columbia village of Lytton, which we have a whole nother story about with images here in a minute. It's a terrible situation there. Oh, damn paywalls. I should have known. I read it for free on my phone earlier. Hold on. Okay. So the most severe heat wave in the history of the Pacific Northwest climaxed, obliterating scores of long-standing records in both the U.S. and Canada. The National Weather Service had predicted the heat wave would be historic, dangerous, prolonged, and unprecedented, and it lived up to all that. Hi, Natalie. Perhaps the most astonishing heat, really, was last Tuesday, the day after our last current event stream, in British Columbia, where the high temperature in the village of Lytton soared to 121 degrees, setting Canada's national heat record, all-time, mind you, national heat record for a third straight day. And what that means is it was like 116 one day, and that was the all-time record. And then it was hotter the next day, and that was the record. And then it was 121 degrees at the climax of this, and that was setting that record for the third straight day. That's unprecedented. Doesn't even, I don't think, put context to how drastic that is.
It's one of the things that still blows my mind when people try to deny climate change. Like, wait, what? Are you paying attention?
So this next sentence, though, coming from the Washington Post, mind you, this temperature is more extreme than the all-time high in Las Vegas, which is 117.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And that's a recent record, too, in Vegas. As they've rapidly expanded, they're facing the same kind of, urban heat island effects as we're seeing here in Phoenix. And James, I believe everybody does still have all their fingers after yesterday. I hope so.
Okay.
So I'm going to screen share this for a second. Look at this map. Okay, so in comparison to Lytton, British Columbia, which is way up here north of Washington State, right up here, it was 121 degrees on June 29th. The only places that it has been that warm or warmer is these dots. There's a couple, in the middle of the country that have tied it.
Sorry.
You're good.
Feedback.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, the only places that it's been warmer than that are in Arizona, California, and Nevada. That's it. The only places in the United States where it has been warmer, or Canada, that has been warmer than Lytton was the other day. And that's obscene.
This is not giving me the option to send those photos into the Zoom chat.
Oh, damn,
It's
really?
only giving me text only option. And I don't have my laptop logged into it either. I don't even have that logged into Messenger.
Sorry that my computer's lagging a little bit. It's probably because I have like 95 tabs open. I might be being a little bit dramatic about that, but not too much. Okay, so the Canadian village we were just talking about, though, Lytton in British Columbia. Okay, so the day after it hit 121 degrees there, damn near the entire village burnt to the ground due to a wildfire that was started by. Have you, or is anybody in the comments, have you ever heard of pyrocumulonimbus? Why can I not fucking talk? Anyway, have you ever heard of pyrocumulonimbus clouds?
Fuck no.
No. So cumulonimbus clouds are thunderheads, right? They happen pretty much everywhere. But with the pyro in front of it, what that means is that they have a high risk of starting fires. They don't put out a lot of rain, but they do put out a lot of lightning. And I'm sure you see the issue when half of the continent or more is under a severe drought.
Yeah. Bunch of lightning with no rain to stop it from lighting shit on fire, and you have fire.
Yeah, exactly. And that was, I mean, I'm trying to find an official estimate of how much of the city was destroyed. But more than 1,000 people were forced to evacuate at a moment's notice because it was a ridiculously fast-moving storm. But I don't have a before picture, right? But that picture. What's left?
Well, right now, pixels.
Well, shit.
Yeah, it's just a little slow to load.
Indeed, but I'm going to scroll back up and play this video anyway. We do not own the rights to this. This is CNN. I believe it to be public domain and fair use because it's news reporting. I just wanted to put that out there in case Facebook tries to fuck with us. Again, I apologize. My computer's lagging.
Not like you have any control over it.
Well, right.
Probably has more to do with how many people in your area are currently online versus even what you're just running on yours.
Yeah. Well, it stopped doing the spinning thing of death, but it's still not playing.
How?
I'll come back to the video. I'm going to turn off the screen share for a minute and see if I can't, a little bit less bandwidth and see if I can get it going. Page unresponsive. Okay, well, that explains it, doesn't it? It's not me, it's CNN's website.
Ah, that would explain it.
Anyway, so the point is the fire destroyed most homes, most structures of the village, and several residents are still unaccounted for. I already said this, but more than 1,000 people in and around the village of Lighton were forced to evacuate. Lighton has been devastated. What I tried to show you was an aerial photo taken from a helicopter on July 1st. And I mean, I can count 3 buildings that are still standing.
That's horrendous. What the fuck?
All right, I'm going to try this video one more time. If that doesn't work, then I have a different idea for video.
Okay.
It's doing the spinny thing again. How did an ad pop up when I was full screen in a video? Are you kidding me?
Because capitalism. Any opportunity
looks
they
like
can
that's
take
not
to make a
gonna
pop-up window come.
So at least this is the the CBC. So at least we don't have to worry about fucking.
We do begin with the latest
Whether
on
or
a
not it's
wildfire
fair use.
disaster in British Columbia. It's in the community of Lytton, the place that just
Oh,
recorded
Lytton.
the
I've
3
been
hottest
saying
days
that
ever in this country.
Those ones have just gone. The whole village is going.
The whole town is on fire. I've ordered the town evacuated, and I told everyone as I was leaving town to leave. It took like a whole 15 minutes from, the first sign of smoke to all of a sudden there being fire, everywhere.
Well, that was the Lytton mayor speaking with CBC News last night, and he tells us wind-driven wildfire raced in the community in minutes. The flames coming in a wall a meter high. Susana De Silva tells us people who had just made it through days of temperatures topping 49 degrees have had to flee with what they could.
121 Fahrenheit.
They said it's coming this way, fast. Let's get out of here.
Well, stories are emerging of frantic moments in the village of Lytton as they only had minutes to get out from the moment that people first saw that first sign of smoke to the time that they were seeing fire destroying buildings in the community. Some of them say they had less than 10 minutes, barely enough time to get themselves out, let alone family pets that were left behind, mementos, photographs, things that people had to leave behind as they all had to scramble to get out of that community. And those forced to flee headed into whichever community that they were able to get. We've heard about people heading into Boston Bar, heading into Lillooet, into Merritt. In Lillooet, we understand that that community quickly rushed to help those arriving, shocked still about what they had just seen happen in their community, bringing them water, food, whatever they could do to try to help. There has been an evacuation center set up in the community of Merritt. People are being asked, even if they aren't going to stay there, to register so that they can keep track of the people who are in that community, ensure that everyone did in fact get out safely. Now, of course, forest fires have been the fear here in this province as it has been gripped by record-breaking temperatures, and nowhere more record-breaking than in the community of Lytton, which set records for the entire country for the hottest ever 3 days in a row. So some of the perhaps driest conditions that community has ever seen. There had already been a fire burning near that community for a number of days. It's not clear what has caused this new fire, but everyone's saying winds that were blowing at the time about 70 kilometers an hour whipped up that fire so quickly people were left scrambling. But there are a number of fires burning right now throughout the province. Dozens have been set in just the last couple of days, and overnight there were lightning strikes and expected to be many more starts over the next few hours. Susanna De Silva, CBC News, Hope.
Yeah, so, like, y'all, that's some crazy fucking shit, right? Like, I'm not the only one thinking that.
That's insane. Right
So,
now,
like,
I'm actually pulling
ahead.
up the NASA fire map that you had gotten those screenshots from, so that everyone could see.
I was gonna do that, but I'm glad that you are, because my computer's, as I already said, a little bogging down. But I was thinking about just
Right.
downloading the images and, you know, putting them in a slide. But yeah, so while she's pulling that up, I'm going to talk about how Canada is battling more than 180,000. No, why did I say 1,000? I don't know why I said that, not 1,000. Canada is battling more than 180 wildfires. And their death toll through these heat waves is already in the hundreds. And they still haven't accounted for everybody that was in some of the places that were evacuated. So the death toll is already in the hundreds, and that's before the fires.
I'm going to
If
screen share
that
this
makes-
now. Oh, if
All
you're
right.
if you're done screen sharing there, this one right here. Okay. Now you can see on this page, this is over the last week. It's kind of hard actually to see how many red dots are lost in there because of the yellow ones.
Well, that's true, but why is it a different scale than it was showing me? Because remember, mine was flames and red dots instead of red dots and yellow dots.
Right. I'm not sure.
And it's literally the same website, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's 6 days ago. I'll let that load for a minute.
The
5 days
screenshots
ago.
that I sent earlier were the week, the last 7 days.
Okay,
Hang
I can
on,
set
though.
it back to that, but there was. Let's see if I can. Maybe this is it. Gridded fire hotspots. Okay, so yellow means there's at least one there, going all the way up to red, meaning over 100 fires in that area. So if that,
Are you sure
Fix
that's
that.
not like 100 acres or something like that?
it just says fire count.
Oh, it just
on
says
that
fire
bar.
count. Okay, yeah. Okay, weird. So like, just I'm confused still as to why mine showed up with, well, I guess to be fair, that was the mobile site, but instead of yellow dots and
Right.
red dots, it was
Massive
flames for
flames.
large events and red dots for small events. But the point is that there are hundreds and hundreds of fires all through the western U.S., including fucking Canada, including fucking Alaska.
Right. See
Uh,
right up through there.
On the screenshot that I took earlier, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 large fires in Alaska. You can't even count how many are in British Columbia, down through California and Arizona. But I mean, it's insane.
Let's see if this will actually read it on here, because this is your screenshot from earlier with all those huge flames. You can see that clearly. Going through northern Canada and Alaska.
I mean, I don't see where you're screen sharing my screenshot from earlier, because you're still screen sharing the firm's site.
No, I'm pointing it at my camera from my phone. I pulled up your actual.
I see. Yeah.
There,
and that's just the U.S. I have the other one actually. Hold on.
Yeah, the other one I had up a second ago, but yeah.
I mean, and that's just the western half of Canada and Alaska. And then she just showed you the.
Right. And this with all the rest of that, like the entire fucking country is on fire. Everywhere.
Yeah, but I'm
fucking where?
Yeah, but I mean, like, look at the seriousness of the fires out west, though. Like, it's absolutely bonkers, and it's something like I read the percentage today, and I don't remember what it is, but like over half. I remember that much for sure, but a significant portion of North America is under severe drought conditions. I mean, we could be looking at another Dust Bowl situation, and the whole damn thing's concerning.
Right. Like, there's barely a tiny patch in the dead center of the country that doesn't have active fires right now. You know, we're used to the occasional fires out on the West Coast because of the type of environment that it is, that it actually has natural wildfires. But when the whole fucking Midwest is on fire too, that hasn't happened in a long time. Like, that's exactly the kind of conditions that would lead to another Dust Bowl situation.
But I guess my point here is, like, there is plenty of things that we can do about it. None of them are going to be free. Most of them involve the overthrow of capitalism. I have still yet to hear a capitalist or a libertarian or any other sort of reactionary come up with a plan to combat climate change. Infrastructure investments is only half of it if we're not actually cutting down on our emissions. And I mean, I'm not talking about offsetting them. I'm not talking about net zero. I'm talking about zero or negative. And we can't do that. The markets will not do that.
We should have been able to achieve fucking, zero, if not fucking making up for some of those emissions by now. We've been aware of this for decades.
And that's the thing. You can say what you want about the Green Party, but their plan right now, and no, it's not free, and no, it's not cheap, but their plan right now would have us at zero emissions, not net zero, at zero emissions by 2030. Is it an unachievable task? Absolutely not. Is it an easy to achieve task? Absolutely not.
No.
But if we come together and start tackling this now, we still talk about it like we have till 2100 to figure out what the fuck we're going to do, but we don't.
Right. We've known for a long fucking time that we don't have a whole hell of a lot of time left to address it before we're at that point of no return. If we haven't already reached it, we're getting fucking close. If we don't fundamentally change the way that we fucking treat the environment we're all gonna fucking die. Or at least most of us are, because the stuff that's happening with the climate change, it's gonna keep wiping us out, one part of the world at a time, as shit like this happens with these enormous fucking stretches of fire going across entire continents. We're literally fucking destroying the environment, and people are foolish enough to think that the environment isn't going to fight back.
People are foolish enough to think that humans can't possibly impact the environment. Look around you.
We have fucked it up the ass with no lube. Of course we affect the environment,
Right.
you know?
And I mean,
How
again,
anybody-
I'm sorry for making this segment so negative, but the reality is we need to wake the fuck up.
What positive light are we supposed to spin on, you know, we're destroying everything? There's, you know?
Capitalists
I mean,
are destroying
can-
everything. You and I
we
have a
can-
very, very minuscule role in it. We're talking about militaries. We're talking about well, militaries are the biggest, but we're talking about private companies.
Yep.
Like
And-
all the people
that's-
who run our system currently are the same people that are destroying the planet that we live on.
Well, if we wanted to just be trying to share oochie coochie good feel shit, all butterflies and fucking rainbows, we could have, you know, a segment every fucking week that is doing nothing but highlighting certain people who are starting to do the right things when it comes to how they handle, you know, their own life, their own fucking emissions, their own fucking
So China,
waste product. Right.
and I mean, they still have a long way to go too.
Right.
But they're
We're 30
the
years
only
behind
fucking
them at
ones.
least. Just in
Exactly.
automotive emissions, we're 30 years at least behind them. But we could do that. But the fact of the matter is that even highlighting those few good stories that we could tell, that's not going to make significant enough change, because like you just pointed out, the biggest fucking producers of toxic waste destroying the environment is the governments with, you know, the military shit and with corporations. We have to put a stop to their fucking significant abuse of the environment before any of the little things that we can do at home are going to add up enough to make a fucking difference. And I'm not saying it's pointless to recycle or anything like that. It's absolutely not. Please fucking keep doing so. Please
That being
keep pocketing
said,
cigarette
a
butts.
significant. Oh yes, that for sure. I used to be
things like
so bad
that.
about that.
Like, be a fucking adult, be responsible with your shit and dispose of it properly. But you can't do that alone. You have to fucking confront the massive fucking exploitation of Mother Earth by governments and fucking corporations. And until that happens, we're still on the path to fucked.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me, honey, I gotta turn some more light on, because right now I look like I'm day glow red. The red on the screen is reflecting all off my face, and just I look like a lobster over here.
I added the little sunflower to this thing here. If you didn't notice that, obviously
I did
you
notice that. Yeah.
Anyway, shit, that's not.
I love Emily's sunflower, man. I don't know if you noticed, I've been incorporating that in more of the posters. It fits. I dig it.
So Robert said, "Hey, China is a great example. Look at their de-desertification program." I don't know literally anything about that. I will have to look into it, but I do know that they have taken an eco-conscious, at least, approach,
Right.
and that's kind of better than any of us can say right now.
I'm really curious, Robert, if you have any sources on that, you be able to pop in the comments real quick that we can pull up and show people, because that would be the same type of stuff that you could implement where you're at, Rob. You know?
Which, I mean, I don't even know that I necessarily agree with de-desertification, but what I do have an issue with, okay, so like when Phoenix was settled, you know, like average highs were in the 90s in the summer. And then now due to island heating and shit, we regularly get. I mean, last year we had 100+ days over 110 degrees.
Right, that's insane. And a lot of that is due to the destruction of the natural, native trees that were there that provided a significant amount of shade. They got chopped down and replaced with palm trees that just suck up a lot of water.
Right. And I mean, the aridification, I don't know if that's the right usage of that or not. But I mean, the land itself has gotten so much more arid because all these rivers that used to run across the valley 100 years ago don't.
Right. It's like there's got to be a happy medium there where, it's possible to, get water supply for the people who live in the area without completely draining the fucking riverbeds dry. That's fucked. That's so fucked. That's not just overuse, it's fucking abuse of the environment. You literally drain rivers.
Yeah, and that's another thing that really gets me is the Salt River Project has some like underground water storage facilities that are full, and they're all like, oh, well, we're ready for cutbacks. Like, how long do you really think your little fucking tank of water is going to last?
Right.
We're talking about a metropolitan area with millions of people.
They would save more water if they enclosed the canals so they were losing less to evaporation.
Oh, yeah, we've already had that whole conversation.
Right.
But, okay, so this is something else that we've talked about. But before we move into class consciousness, I just want to point out that the Hoover Dam is at its lowest level ever. Like, it is lower than it was when they were filling it in the 30s.
Right.
We need to do something.
It speaks volumes there. Just the sheer level of heat in that area, just evaporating all of that water off on top of, the usage. It's abusive. When are we gonna, figure something out and address it when it's too fucking late and that entire ecosystem there collapses? It's just fucked. The extent that humans are willing to push shit to out of a desire for comfortability.
Yeah. All right, so we're moving into class consciousness. I have a couple of things to talk about, but the first thing I want to talk about, 4-day work week.
Fucking A.
Yeah. The world's largest ever 4-day work week trial in Iceland was an overwhelming success. Actually, I kind of wish that Don was in here today so he could tell you a little bit about Iceland's form of government. It was instituted by the Vikings in the 900s.
And it worked so well, they've kept it.
Exactly. It still works today. It doesn't operate quite the same as it did over 1,000 years ago, don't get me wrong, but it's still the same entity, and it still largely works in the same way. It's really impressive.
Right.
But
it's
anyway,
just expanded to work for greater numbers of population,
Yeah. I mean, back in the old days, they literally had as many people that could get there from every stretch of the country, meet up in a central location and decide the laws. Obviously, it's not practical to have everybody in the country go there. It is a little bit more representative based, like our system is, for example. But it seems a hell of a lot less corrupt. In fact, in the 2008 financial crisis, while the U.S., bailed out the banks and didn't send anybody to jail, Iceland let the banks fall. And
jailed the bankers.
Exactly.
Like, oh, you want to fuck our economy like this? To jail do you go.
Yep. And not just the bankers either. It was also the corrupt politicians that allowed the bankers this much control.
Right.
So, I think they have it figured out better than we do. Anyway, so this independent article is touting the success of the largest ever trial of a 4-day working week. and is pushing for it to be tested in the UK. More than 1% of Iceland's working population took part in the pilot program, which cut the working week to 35 or 36 hours with no reduction in overall pay. Meaning, you know, you get paid the same amount you would if you worked a 40-hour week.
Only instead now you have 3 days off to actually enjoy life instead of only 2. You have a little more opportunity to do stuff. Actually live.
If you want my like analytical take on this, I feel like it's a concession from the capitalists to encourage the Icelanders to not, take a stricter stand on their own. Which
right.
I'm not saying that is necessarily a bad thing, because obviously the union membership in Iceland is very high. They have the means to push this, whether or not, it becomes national law.
Right.
But the pilot ran from 2015 to 2019 and involved more than 2,500 people, and it boosted productivity and well-being and are already leading to permanent changes. The trade union federations, which collectively negotiate wages and conditions for most Icelandic employees, in fact, if I remember correctly, that is how they set their minimum wage. It's set by the unions, not by a fucking corrupt politician.
Right.
Anyway, have already begun to negotiate reduced working hours as a result. The researchers estimate that as a result of new agreements struck in 2019 and 2021 after the trials ended, 86% of Iceland's entire working population now either have reduced hours or flexibility with their contracts to reduce hours.
That's what the fuck is up. That's quick progression going, okay, we can see this works, let's implement it now.
Yeah, and I mean, like, before the trial was even done, that's the thing. Before the trial was even done, they were already working on implementing this through trade union federations. Which, I mean, I think that the working class is on a much more equal footing in Iceland just because of how their trade unions work.
Well, that's the thing. When pay raises are left up to the people in the union voting on it instead of left up to politicians, then you actually have control at the table over your own fucking well-being as it should be. That is something that should never be held by a few hands in government. Because look at what the fuck is done with it, like here, where, people who are in the restaurant industry working tipped jobs haven't seen a fucking pay raise in decades. Fucking decades. Since before I was born, and I'm almost 40. It was the fucking 70s, the last time that there was a fucking pay hike for tipped service jobs. That's fucked. That's the type of shit that you see when it's left up to assholes in Congress who can vote themselves pay raise after pay raise after pay raise after pay raise on our fucking dime. But tell us to suck it when we're like, wait a minute, we should be getting paid enough to survive. Just saying, Iceland's got a better idea when it comes to all of it.
Well, yeah, and I mean a lot of the, I'm not going to say all because that would be incorrect, but a lot of these trade unionist organizers are socialists. Whether they're democratic socialists or, communist socialists is irrelevant to me.
By the way, I didn't mean all of their laws, period. I meant all of this that we're discussing right now as far as these things that
That's
affect
true.
the labor force. They're doing better than we are.
Oh, much. Finland actually has been talking about a 4-day work week for the past several years now too, and they have all sorts of mandated paid leave, and they have socialized medicine, and they're the happiest country in the world. In fact, all of the top 10 happiest countries in the world have socialized medicine, and that's not a coincidence. I'm going to take this moment to point out that there are marches all over the country. On July 24th, we're demanding Medicare for all. We're not taking no for an answer. There are marches in Washington, D.C., Boston, New York City, Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, L.A., Phoenix, and those are just the ones that I know off the top of my head. By all means, get out there. Make your voice heard. We need it. Medicare for all is just a stopgap solution for that matter, but that's the part of a universal health program that will save lives, and that's what we need right now.
Right. There's no excuse for us still not having it. Just to put it in perspective, there are 33, if I remember correct, 33 fucking industrialized, modernized nations in the world, and there's only one that still has fucking capitalistic fucking healthcare. And that's us. Literally every other fucking industrialized country has fucking some form of universal health care.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wouldn't say that all of them are necessarily explicitly socialist. A lot of them are more social democratic, which is fine. However you live the material conditions doesn't matter to me. I would prefer it more like Cuba, where there's not some cat on top making a bunch of money off of it. But at least you can take the social democratic route and rein that in. We could be paying $30 for insulin like the rest of the fucking world instead of $600. What is wrong with you people?
Right.
Not you people, but like the people that make these laws.
Right. That's just fucking insane. And to even think about, okay, I've got friends who have little kids that are diabetic, that are insulin dependent. Like, single moms who, you know, that's a rent payment, bro. Fucking, you know, like to have to pay that out of pocket if you don't have insurance coverage, what are you supposed to do?
Or if your insurance doesn't cover insulin for whatever reason. I'm sure it's I'm sure it's a situation that exists.
Right. That's the thing. There's no excuse for shit that costs very little to produce being sold at fucking exponentially fucking high profit margins in the pharmacy. Fuck that. If you don't have insurance, you should be able to fucking walk in and buy it for its actual cost to produce it of that $30 or less.
Or less, yeah. I mean, like I said, in those systems, there's usually some sort of profit margin, which I fundamentally disagree with, but I mean, if there's going to be a profit margin, make it a little one. Fuck.
Right. And I don't know, maybe make it where the profit margins have to be reinvested in some manner, like in, you know, developing new medications for certain diseases, or reinvested in, you know, programs to actually help cover more medical care for those who don't have coverage, something, you know. That money should be reinvested into the system, not being used to line the pocket of a fucking CEO.
Yeah.
It's just fucked. It's so fucked that we
I
allow
was going to
healthcare.
put this under international, but before we move to the next story, I actually, just to kind of, since we're talking about socialist healthcare, I want to look at this week's Cuba vaccine distribution.
Right. Oh, ow. Fuck. Don't mind me moving all over the place over here. Sciatic nerves are on fire.
So the last update on the map for Cuba was 2 days ago. And this week, I think it's probably going to slow down. Okay, so the process to become fully vaccinated in Cuba is 8 weeks. Because you get your first shot, then you wait 2 weeks, then you get your second shot, then you wait 2 weeks, then you get your third shot, then you wait 2 weeks. Wait, so that's 6 weeks, right? Am I crazy? I said 8, whatever. The point is, it's been like 9 weeks, right? And it takes 6 weeks to get fully vaccinated in Cuba, or more. And they have over 1.5 million people vaccinated already. That's 13.8% of the population.
In a very short period of time.
Yeah, in a very short period of time. They didn't start till May 7th. We're at eight or 9 weeks right now. I think it's 8. Yeah, it's 8. We're at 8 weeks right now, and they're already at 13.8% fully vaccinated. Total doses given is at 6.57 million. For a country that, you know, we always say, and our narratives in America, that is, not you and I per se, but the American narrative is that they're such a poor country that they can't take care of their citizens, but they're rolling out the vaccine more effectively than we are without a profit motive.
Right.
Ours is entirely a profit motive. I don't know what the government paid a private healthcare company for my vaccine or for your vaccine, but they're getting paid for every single one. There is a profit margin. That's the very design of it. That's why we couldn't give our vaccine to Cuba, because they don't have the money to pay for it.
Like, it's not actually free to anybody, even though, you know, they say, come get your shot for free. Well, no, we're paying for it in our tax dollars. And instead of merely paying for the cost of production with our tax dollars, like they are in Cuba, we're paying for a profit margin for CEOs to profiteer off of exploiting a fucking pandemic. Let's just watch the numbers and see how much these fucking big pharma companies explode as far as, you know, their profit margins over the next year or two, raking in all this COVID money.
And that's part of why our recovery process costs so much more.
Yeah.
Trisha, do you mind diving into the next story? I put it in the Zoom chat.
Give me just a second to pull it up, and I will screen share.
Well, you don't necessarily need to screen share. I mean, just, you know, take the information from it. That being said, I will screen share an image of the building because I kind of like what they've done with it.
Right, that's kind of nifty. McDonald's restaurant gets converted into a food bank to feed the hungry. Look at that. I dig it. One McDonald's location in Marseille, France, has adopted a cashless system in that it doesn't take in any payment from diners, as La Pré M is a food bank. In a former life, the McDonald's outlet opened in 1992 in a poverty-hit neighborhood of a predominantly Muslim community. When it shut down in 2018, it left many out of income or job opportunities. An organizer of the food bank told Vice that the other alternative to find work in the neighborhood was a local hypermarket. To protest the restaurant's closure, manager Kamel Gamari, who was employed at the McDonald's at 16 years old and had worked there for the next 2 decades, covered himself in gasoline and locked himself in, threatening to set himself on fire, according to Forbes. More employees would join him over the weeks. They took up an even more meaningful approach when the pandemic hit. The McDonald's location was rebranded to La Pré M, the After M is what that translates to, and transformed into a food bank to nourish residents. Farmers donated fruits and vegetables, shops sent in food, while locals offered money to finance the campaign. By the 5th week of its opening, La Pré M had already served at least 100,000 people. This month, the Marseille government is going to buy the building, so it will no longer have to serve people illegally. The Washington Post reports. Now the food bank offers more than food parcels, and it hosts events associated with its altruistic initiative, says the Insider. Then they've got some really cool photos down here, if you want to screen share those ones too, of I think the people gathered out front. That's beautiful. I dig it. That's the best thing somebody could do with a McDonald's. Fucking dope. Are you there? You're not there. I just noticed that Rob walked away. Had the other screen pulled up. Let's see here. I'm going to drop that down. Screen share. That's right here. So you guys can see these other pics here. Check that out. Crowd gathered there. Celebrating their community coming together. That's beautiful. Here. Oh, and that took me over there instead. Okay. All right, that was it for the pics I see there, but so you can see they do have an Instagram page. If you want to go follow them, they're doing good things. Ooh, here's an overhead view. I'm digging that paint job. That's beautiful.
I'm back.
I see. I'm sharing some video from the restaurant's Instagram.
I'm not hearing any sound though.
No? I wonder why. I turned the volume all the way up.
Did you click share
They're
sound
speaking
when
in
you
French anyway.
Oh, well, gotcha.
And there's no interpretation, so I just thought that was cool, showing like the sheer number of people there and
Yeah.
the crowd coming to eat every day.
Indeed.
Games set up for the kids and everything. That's cool,
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a community center
right?
/ food bank. And that's the kind of thing I find inspiring, you know, when people are actually like building community.
Right.
Like that is a fine example of building socialism or of building a revolution right there. That's what we need to be doing everywhere.
Right.
I think first and foremost, that's what we should focus on, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Because they didn't just come there to feed the community. They're doing activities together. They're giving people some beautiful things to do with their time together, you know. Look at that. That is one hell of a uniting force. I dig it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay. I will end the screen share there.
Natalie said everything looks so tiny on my cell phone. Robert said I like the paint job too. Actually, yeah. I'm glad you brought this up, Natalie. With the U.S. government still sanctioning Cuba is a disgrace, something like 56 years now. Yeah, because
Right.
The U.S. or companies in the U.S. had planted or installed the Batista regime. You got a little bit of echo going on there. I don't know if...
Do I?
Yeah, I haven't heard it at all until just now.
I turned the volume up because I was having a hard time hearing you. Is that better?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't hear it now. Anyway, the U.S. government sanctioning Cuba, it's not even just the U.S. government. We're just the spearhead of it. And we talk about how poor Cuba is, but like we never acknowledge how that's not due to socialism or even due to an authoritarian regime. It's due to sanctions. They have no trade almost with the outside world since the fall of the Soviet bloc, and it's been 30 years and they're still keeping their people fed. I don't want to hear shit about how Cuba can't take care of their people.
Right. The fact of the matter is, how that really needs to be painted is, look at how much they're able to do with
nothing.
How little that we've literally, allowed them to have, because we have blocked their trade in so many fucking, directions. Now look what they can do. If they can do that with that little bit of financing, look at what the fuck we can do here. One of the wealthiest nations in the fucking country.
One of the wealthiest nations in the country.
Or, I'm sorry, one of the wealthiest nations in the world. You know what I mean? Smoke another one. I should smoke another one. But, you know what I mean? It's fucking sad that this is one of the wealthiest nations on the face of the entire fucking planet. And we have more fucking, poverty, homelessness, hunger, things like that going on than is that we point at, not us, you and I, but, America in general, the media, the government, point at and go, oh, look at these guys are, a poor country. Well, I'm pretty sure the homeless people here would rather live there where they could at least have access to housing and food and water and fucking, healthcare.
To well-built, well-insulated housing. It gets hot in Cuba.
Right.
Natalie said the USA wants it to fail in fear of socialism taking over, and I think that's exactly what it is. And I think it speaks a lot to the spirit of Cuba, communist or not, that they exist as an anti-imperial state 90 miles off our coast. That's why we don't like it. It's right on our back door.
Right. And a lot of that Red Scare shit wasn't necessarily working on people who were questioning that fucking propaganda and going, well, wait a minute. Like the things that were being purported in the media of, oh, look at these poor people. They were forced to move out of Cuba. Well, no, not those poor people. Those were the capitalists who were not being allowed to continue to exploit the fuck out of the working class there and got told, get bent. If you want to
to just add context to that, Fidel Castro's government tried to purchase above market value all of those capitalist properties with bonds, because the Batista regime ransacked the Cuban treasury when they fled the fucking country.
Right.
But Fidel Castro and his band of revolutionaries, before even instituting the revolutionary government, offered to buy those lands above market value, and the capitalists said no. So then they went in and took it, and we try to paint them as the bad guy. It's their fucking island.
Right. They've got every right to say, no, we're not going to allow you small handful of people to exploit the ever-living fuck out of everybody else. No, if you want to fucking exploit people, go somewhere where you're still being allowed to exploit people. Bye. And those people come here and cry about, oh, I was made to leave my country. Motherfucker, you were exploiting the country.
I mean, it's going to sound funny to say this, I guess, but maybe the best people to ask about the state of Cuba are not the Cubans that didn't want to stay.
Right. Maybe ask the Cubans who wanted to stay.
Right. Ask the Cubans that still live there. Is there dissent against the government? Of course there is. Has the government made oversteps in terms of repression? Of course it has. But you have to look at the reasons why. Not to try to justify that, but it's not like anybody who speaks out in any way against the government just gets thrown in jail indefinitely. I'm not saying...
Back. Sorry, somebody's knocking on the door. I'll be right back. Good.
you're good. But I mean, I'm not going to say that doesn't happen at all. And I do think that it's a problem that it does happen at all. But with that being said, you have to look at the context in which these situations happened. You have to look at the fact that Cuba had been under colonial rule, whether it was Spanish or American, it doesn't fucking matter. They had been under colonial rule for over 400 years. They wanted their independence. And they saw that the best way to defend that independence was through a Marxist-Leninist state. I'm not going to hate on them for that. I think that Cuba would look a lot different today had they not taken that route. Anyway, so I guess I was gonna put this in international happenings as well, but I'm just gonna do it now. I'm pulling up the video, but I'm sure most of you have heard at this point about the portal to hell that opened in the Gulf of Mexico. But I'm gonna play a video of it, and we're gonna talk about it a little bit.
I have returned.
Indeed. I'm pulling up the video for that fire in the Gulf of Mexico. The portal to hell, as I have been referring to it.
Like we haven't fucked the Gulf enough already in previous years.
Right,
Look
BP
at
left.
this shit show.
BP left a bathtub ring of oil, or was it Shell? I know it was one of the two. But either
I think
way,
it was BP.
Either way, one of them
Shell
left
got
a
bought out by BP, so same difference at this point. Mergers and acquisitions.
fair. But either way, they already left a bathtub ring around the Gulf of Mexico. And this was actually Pemex, I think is what it's called. It's a state-owned oil company. Basically, what had happened was, Robert said it was BP. Thank you for checking me on that. And yeah, exactly. They're still cleaning it up. They're still fucking cleaning it up. So Pemex is a state-owned petroleum company owned by the Mexican state. It was seized. It was seized by the state. They had been foreign-owned oil entities, but basically, at one point, Mexico was like, "No, we're not going to allow you to fucking exploit our land." So now they're exploiting their own land. And a gas pipeline ruptured, an underwater gas pipeline ruptured, and somehow caught on fire. And this is the scene. Give me just a second to share.
This is something I would have never thought was possible, but here it is. The fucking ocean is on fire.
It may look just like a scene from a disaster movie, but this
That water's
is
boiling,
captured today.
cooking the wildlife.
The ocean caught fire in the Gulf of Mexico, just west of the Yucatan Peninsula. Those dramatic images.
You hear the audio
quickly
from
going viral on social media.
Yes.
Some people calling it an eye of fire, while others said it looked like the portal to hell opening up. Pemex, the Mexican state-run oil company, says an underground natural gas pipeline sprung a leak that caused that mid-ocean fire. A number of firefighting boats pumped water onto the fire for nearly 5 hours until it was eventually extinguished. They put out a fire on the ocean. An oil platform nearby, not damaged. Hello, I'm Mark Brown.
Time
Get
out.
more
Time
great
out.
ABC7
On the
content
ocean.
by
In the ocean.
The ocean.
That water, as you were already pointing out, was fucking boiling. It took them 5 hours to put it out, and they haven't even started the investigation yet. It is planned. I will give them credit there, but they haven't even started the investigation yet into the potential impact on marine wildlife, which I can only imagine is catastrophic.
Yeah. Think about, okay, this is a region where already due to global warming, we've been seeing the coral being bleached to death by rising ocean temperatures for many years now. There has been huge projects going on all through the Gulf, like along the Gulf Coast of Florida, through the Keys, all the other islands through there, to go out and regrow new coral. Like, people have been taking baby coral out there and putting them on the old reefs to start to grow and try to replenish the coral reefs, because they are an essential source of food for the whole fucking food chain. Because all the little
food
stuff
and
comes
shelter, if I understand correctly.
Yes, absolutely, because there's a lot of fish that live in those reefs. So they're trying to, get this environment back to its normal fucking status already, which is hard enough to do with slightly varying. It seems like it's a very small increment to be like, oh, well, the ocean, went up by a degree in this period of time. That sounds minute, but when it's average ocean temperatures, that's actually causing a huge change. Every fucking degree is causing a huge change in what can survive there. And when those temperatures are already steadily climbing because of global warming, and then we add a fucking fire in the water to it, that probably just devastated everything within miles that might have still been flourishing ecosystem, or even remotely flourishing ecosystem.
Robert said, I'm a fish keeper. This isn't good. All the dead fish will raise pH and nitrites.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the ocean, I guess just to piggyback off of what you were already saying, the ocean is a very delicate ecosystem, which is already being upended by climate change as it is. And to just have, a chunk of the ocean boiling for hours cannot possibly be good. I'm concerned to see how that's going to affect ocean currents, frankly, because a lot of those are temperature driven.
Yeah. Honestly, this could actually have an effect on storms that are produced because of those underwater currents. Doesn't matter whether we're talking about air or water, either way, it is still basically a fluid. Gases are just a fluid that is basically thin enough for you to be able to breathe it. But either way, the way that it operates when hot meets cold is the same. They influence each other when it comes to these tropical fucking storms. And this asshole oil company might have just fucked things a lot more than just what we can see right now in present time of, fucking ocean setting on fire.
Well, warmer waters tend to move towards the poles anyway, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's what powers the currents. So what happens if there isn't enough cold at the poles to, send the currents back to the equator?
Well, first, what we're most likely to see is that causing greater damage to the icebergs, and melting them more so from below, just like what we were talking about a few months ago of what's above surface level isn't all that's melting, it's melting underwater too. So we could see potential rises in ocean levels from that, losing more of our Arctic and Antarctic ice, more ecosystem there.
For sea levels, actually, this is a fact that I learned because of the building in Miami collapsing, right? But sea levels in Miami have already risen by about 3 inches, right? And with that being said, they also have been having freak tides where on a full moon or a new moon, it'll go in further than it normally does. And most of Miami-Dade County, 97% of it, I think, is under a foot above sea level. So if we're talking about 3 feet of ocean, potentially in the next 200 years, 3 feet of ocean rise globally would decimate almost every major populated place. Yeah.
And it's making me think of one of those end of the world movies where everything froze over due to shit like this happening, and I can't think of the fucking name of it right now.
The Day After Tomorrow.
That one.
Yeah.
That one. That's the type of shit that could be triggered by these changes that are happening now.
That could be triggered by it, but so could a mass increase in temperature that doesn't necessarily come back down in a normal wave. You know, because like the Earth does go through cycles, but this is an extreme cycle, and we don't know how far it's going to swing one way before it swings back the other way.
Right. And part of the problem too being just how precarious that is of these factors coming into play together, that it could snap it in either fucking direction, and either way would be devastating.
Indeed. I think though I'm going to move on to U.S. happenings.
Okay.
I actually don't have as much as you would expect to talk about in this section because, well, yeah. Anyway, we were just talking about the Miami condo. The rest of the building that had partially collapsed was blown up last night because they didn't want to take any risks with the tropical storm possibly, you know, coming that way. So they wanted to get it demolished before that. And they had to pause the search to do that. But it's also been like 4 or 5 days since they found anybody alive in the wreckage. And there's still well over 100 people missing in the wreckage.
And now they just blew up the rest of the building on them. So
no, not on them. No, they had to avoid an entire part of the rubble because they were concerned that the rest of the building was going to fall down on it. So what they did was they put charges on the other side of the building in the foundation, so it fell the other way.
Okay, that works.
Yeah. But yeah, that's really all that's new there. Is the chances of finding anybody alive at this point are very slim. But now they can check parts of the rubble that they haven't been able to check because the building is down. But depending on how Tropical Storm Elsa comes in, right now it's predicted to hit the west coast of Florida. So, I mean, other than some rain, they should be okay in Miami. But if it comes in, you know, like straight on Miami or more up the east side of the coast, then that's going to hamper search and rescue efforts too.
Right. And you got to think too that it's really not that far from the west coast to the east coast of Florida.
especially right there.
Miami is at like the very southern tip of the east coast. So, I mean, even if it comes slightly inland or, you know, across the water there, it's going to be dumping a shit ton of bad weather onto Miami still. That's really not far to travel over land, especially for a huge tropical storm. If it gets up...
And as we just said, 97% of Miami-Dade County is under 1 foot above sea level.
Right.
So, I mean, really any kind of storm surge there is going to be fucking catastrophic.
Right. They don't have much room to play with when it comes to, you know, their entire fucking waterfront washing the fuck away if shit hits them too hard. I mean, these are areas that they literally have to truck in sand from elsewhere to keep replenishing the beach, so there'll still be a beach there because they built a beach in basically a fucking swamp.
Yeah.
And then put heavy cement fucking buildings on there. Great planning. It's beyond ridiculous what we have done to our waterfronts, and then wonder why we're having so many issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's frustrating, really, because these are areas where so many people flock to live because it's beautiful, because you have access to, you know, go swimming and go fishing, things like that. And just think how many fucking millions of people live on these coasts, just all through the Gulf and the Atlantic, through that area, and they keep getting their asses kicked by hurricane after hurricane every fucking year. We've got to do something to fix the infrastructure there before we end up with another situation like Katrina, devastating, you know, an entire fucking population or multiple populations. You know, it's really fucked that we're still standing here basically with our proverbial cocks in our hands, like, I don't know what to do about that. Yeah, we do know how to fix it. We just have a lot of people refusing to spend the money to fix it, which is asinine.
Indeed. Oh, wow. So no wonder our fucking...
What's up?
Universal is claiming that we have their content. We have not played any copyrighted music. Yeah.
In Universal,
I mean,
sure as shit doesn't own the videos that we shared, like the one from Instagram that's owned by that, you know, food bank co-op. That's their personal video, not Universal's. So what the hell is Universal claiming rights to?
I don't know. It doesn't even say, but I'm disputing it right now. If you were watching this on Facebook, either come back, that should be taken care of momentarily. It says your video matches 43 seconds of video owned by L Universal Online. So that's even weirder.
What?
Yeah. My explanation was fair use, and we didn't play any copyrighted music.
Right.
So if you're listening to this on the podcast, this is the kind of thing that we go through fairly regularly with Facebook lately, and it's very frustrating. And that's why we're relying more and more on those podcast platforms moving forward.
Right, because this is just like everything that we share, we are very careful to make sure, like, this is public access stuff. You could look it up yourself and play it on your own computer. You don't need us to access it.
I mean, Robert can see it, and I would assume that Natalie can still see it because they're admins. I don't know how long it's going to be before it comes back up officially on YouTube, but we'll see when the numbers start going back up.
Okay.
I'm just going to continue anyway. Jeff Bezos stepped down as the boss of Amazon.
Really?
Yes.
What?
Now, that being said, I'm willing to bet that he didn't relinquish his stock control.
Right.
I'm willing to bet that he didn't relinquish his capital ownership of the company. I mean, he's still going to be funneling those fucking profits to his fucking dragon den.
They'll keep making just as much fucking money, only now with doing no work.
Yeah.
Compared to the very little work he was doing before. And this is where we have a fundamental problem with capitalism, because, people like to try to point at communism and say shit like, oh, you're okay with one person working for something and having to give it to another, and you don't even realize this is what's happening to you under capitalism, only worse, because the amount of wealth that your time, labor, skills fucking produces is exponential in comparison to the pittance that you take home. So right off the bat, you're paying someone else to work for them. You are paying the capitalist to do all the work for them so they don't have to work. That's literally what capitalizing means, is to capitalize on the labor of another and not do the work yourself. It's exploitation. I'd much rather have communism where I'm equal owner of the company that I'm working at and getting equal share of those profits, and the corporation itself paying taxes. We also need to address the income tax laws there, because those were only ever intended to be levied against the profit margins of corporations, not against your personal paycheck. That's a whole nother fucking rant. But you see where the problem lies. Right off the bat, you are paying someone else to sit on their fucking ass and collect everything you produce. Like Jeff Bezos. Now he's going to be doing even less now that he doesn't hold the office there of like running the company.
Yeah, which that BBC article, that's what 90% of the article is about. Like, oh, well, he's done all this work for so long.
He's pushed paper.
Right.
While other people do actual physical, manual fucking labor in the shipping, the packing, the fucking transportation of it. He's been sitting at a desk pushing paper. I don't call that doing a lot of fucking work.
I called that. Bezos will remain Amazon's largest shareholder.
Yep. No surprise.
I'd also like to point out that 150,000 people have signed a petition to not allow him back on Earth after he, takes his rich man field trip to fucking outer space.
Where's the petition? I'd like to sign it.
I don't know where it is, but like news outlets have been reporting on said petition. So I'm not sure where it is, but if you find it, you should post it in the group.
Can we add an addendum that every bit of wealth that fucking gold hoarding dragon holds be distributed first, making sure that all the people who work at Amazon actually get enough fucking pay to fucking equal the value they have put into that company? Right. And anything else over and above that be distributed to every fucking community in which this company operates, and give back to those people too. Because fuck Jeff Bezos.
Well, now it's fuck Andy Jassy. Because, Jeff Bezos molded this guy for 27 fucking years to take over the company.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It wasn't actually the full 27 years, but...
he's been groomed.
Yeah.
He's been groomed. Completely.
Yeah, Bezos literally fucking molded this dude from a young age. Like, all right, you're ready to take over the company. It's a critical time.
Does he even have kids? Because usually, people like that basically anoint their kids as their, oh God, brain fart. Anoint them to those positions of running the business for him afterwards.
Yeah. I don't think he does. I could be wrong.
I don't think he does either.
I don't know. I do know that he got married and then his wife left him and took half his money.
Right. Right. Like, hey, darling, if you want to contribute, start taking that money and dispersing it amongst the people. Fucking make life better for those who have been fully exploited by fucking Amazon. It's one of those things, like, it sucks that that's one of the few places you can actually source certain things for a decent fucking price. But you have to feed the gold hoarding dragon to do it. Like there's certain things like the Wobenzyme, this shit right here. I fucking take this to help with arthritis pain. It helps with nerve pain, the whole fucking 9 yards too. Like it is anti-inflammatory on the cellular level. But this bottle right here would cost me $350 fucking dollars at a local health food store, and it costs $130 on Amazon. So it's like, and this is just one fucking thing. I mean, there's people who go to Amazon constantly because it's the only place they can afford to source certain things.
Which,
So
I mean, I understand, but that's why I
Fulfilling a
advocate
niche.
for socializing Amazon.
Right. The people who work there need to seize that means of production. You own it. Not Jeff Bezos, not his fucking crony that he just fucking anointed in succession. That company wouldn't happen if it weren't for the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, I don't know, I'd have to look it up, who work for this company and or work for other companies that either are selling stuff on there or companies that handle any of the shipping, things like that. Like, this is a very large tangled web that all comes back to Amazon profiteering. That money should be going to those people who are doing that work.
I agree.
I feel the same way about Walmart. It's not that it's a bad thing. There's a place where you can buy cheaply produced shit if you want, but the Walton family shouldn't be raking all that cash in. The people who work there should be.
I tend to agree with that. Anyway, so yeah, you want to hear what Grandpa Joe had to say this weekend?
Oh, fuck. I guess hit play. It's bound to be disappointing and inflammatory. Let's hear it.
No,
Can you turn that volume up?
no, we're on track exactly as to where we expect it to be. But we just
Oh, damn.
had to make sure there was enough, quote, running room that
Let me know if I cause you feedback with this.
be able to do it all to September. There'll still be some full forces left. So it's a rational drawdown with our allies, and it's making so there's nothing unusual about it.
Are you worried that the Afghan government might fall? I mean, we are hearing about the Taliban is taking more and more districts.
Look, we're in that war for 20 years. 20 years. And I think I met with the Afghan government here in the White House, in the Oval. I think they have the capacity to be able to sustain the government. There's going to have to be, down the road, more negotiations, I suspect. But I am concerned that they deal with the internal issues that they have to be able to generate the kind of support they need nationwide to maintain the government.
Thought on Afghanistan.
I want to talk about happy things, man.
If there is evidence that Kabul is threatened, which some of the intelligence reports have suggested it could be in 6 months or thereabouts, do you think you've got the capability to help provide any kind of air support, military support to them to keep the capital safe, even if the U.S. troops are obviously fully out by that time?
We have worked out an over-horizon capacity that we can be value added, but the Afghans are going to have to be able to do it themselves with the Air Force they have, which you're helping them maintain. I'm not going to answer any more questions on Afghanistan. Look, it's 4th of July. I'm concerned that you guys are asking me questions that I'll answer next week, but this is a holiday weekend. I'm going to celebrate it. There's great things happening. Economy's growing faster
Doesn't
than
this sound like
40
Trump?
years. We've got a record number of new jobs. COVID deaths are down 90%. Wages are up faster than any time in 15 years. We're bringing our troops home. We have all across America, people are going to ball games and doing good things. This is a good. I'll answer all your negative questions, not negative, your legitimate questions.
I'll answer all your negative questions next week.
Oh my God. Oh, oops. No, not negative, but yeah. No, you said what you meant the first time, asshole.
You said what you fucking said, Joe.
Right. God damn it. Just what the fuck?
Oh, dude, it's just mind-blowing, right? Like, after he got frustrated there, it was exactly like watching a Trump speech.
Right.
Oh, well, we're doing great things. We're doing great things. We did this great thing, and I did this great thing, and we're gonna do this great thing, and we're going to ball games again. Like,
great stuff all around. It'll be.
We're going to ball games again. You remember when Trump was like pushing to get the NFL back when people were dying of COVID? It's the same fucking thing, dude. It's the same thing.
Motherfuckers think that sports ball is more important than lives themselves. It's like, get the fuck out of here. You know? This is what humanity has come to. Get the fuck out of here.
I mean, does he not look like kind of like Cotton Hill though? Hank Hill's dad.
He looks like lizard people wearing a Cotton Hill suit.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, the only thing is though, like you can see the liver spots on Joe's head.
At least they haven't gotten as big as Gorbachev's yet.
This is true. This is very true.
That man had like the whole goddamn map going on up there and shit. Like,
all right. So tell me that this doesn't look like Joe Biden answering an uncomfortable question.
A negative question?
A negative question.
As he would like to paint it. Like, how dare you ask me a bluntly honest fucking question? That's negativity.
And this is when he's yelling at a worker in Detroit saying, I don't work for you.
It's still screen sharing the international happening slide.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. That's
there we go.
And this one is when Joe Biden is saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
I thought that was when he was talking about kids playing with his leg hair, but okay. Like this motherfucker. It fits for both.
Replace that sandwich. Replace that sandwich with an ice cream cone, and tell me that's not Joe Biden.
Oh my God, he looked so fucking mad at that ice cream cone. Like, what the fuck, old man? What did that ice cream cone ever do to you? Shit. We need that picture now to show everybody so they know which one we're referencing. Because
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Because that was some shit, man. Like, whoa. There, that look.
What was the joke that he like started biting into his ice cream and then he was like, oh shit, I left the stove on.
Right. I'm just like, man, he looks vicious there. Like he was either ravenous from not eating for a week or just mad as fuck at that cone. Like,
I mean, maybe both, who knows? All right, I guess that's enough trolling Joe Biden for the moment.
Thing is too much though, so.
Anyway, now we're moving on to international happenings. Cuba evacuated more than 180,000 people as tropical storm Elsa probably has made landfall in Cuba by now, actually. Okay. The page just decided.
Oh. Did I lose you? Oh, your audio was like for a second.
Well,
I was going to ask you if you were going to screen share the
son of a bitch. Yeah, if I can get it to cooperate.
right. Now we just need some Jeopardy music. Do, 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 do. And we'll stop there so we don't get copyright fucking flag for that.
All right, so the Cuban government opened shelters and moved to protect sugarcane and cocoa crops ahead of the storm. Oh, actually, there's an updated article, an updated video, actually. The tropical storm has touched land in Cuba. So,
Shit.
Let me...
So it's probably already hitting the Keys, too.
Well, I mean, there's
If not
90
about
miles between the Keys. I mean, the rain bands will get there first, obviously,
But yeah, you see that? Yeah, it's really not far for a tropical storm to have to travel.
it's moving at about 14 miles an hour, though. Why?
Okay.
Where did the video go?
I don't know. I can still hear it.
Me too. I am really not liking this
Fucking
site.
weird.
I am done with that site. It was a Florida-based site.
Okay, so they might
Oh.
not have that good of signal right now to even be kicking that feed out.
Well, it's not a live feed.
Okay.
That being said, Tropical Storm Elsa killed 2 in the Dominican Republic after a wall collapsed. And it's looking like late tonight or early tomorrow it should be hitting the west coast of Florida is still what they're saying. But I have son of a... This is not going to be about Cuba, but it is about how Florida is preparing.
Sites on the western side of Florida. A state of emergency has been issued for portions of the state ahead of the storm's arrival Tuesday into Wednesday. To the south, Elsa's winds whipped trees, churned the surf, and brought heavy rains to eastern Cuba Sunday night. 180,000 people were evacuated because of flooding concerns as the Cuban government opened shelters and moved to protect crops ahead of the storm. Before reaching Cuba, Elsa was at hurricane strength and caused a swath of destruction across the Caribbean, killing at least 3 people. Elsa, the first hurricane to hit Barbados in over 60 years, was also the first hurricane of the Atlantic season and the earliest a 5th storm has been named on record. That typically happens in late August. These storms feed off of warm water, and this satellite image shows the storm has weakened, looking less organized as it moves over Cuba. Elsa is expected to move north into the Gulf of Mexico and towards Florida, but at this point it looks like the atmospheric dynamics will keep it at a tropical storm as it makes landfall likely north of Tampa Bay by midweek, with flooding rains being the largest threat. Later this week, Elsa could re-intensify to a tropical storm as it moves back over the U.S. Atlantic coast. However, it should start to lose its tropical characteristics and strength over Canadian waters. But depending on the track, there's still the potential for some heavy rain and gusty winds for portions of Atlantic Canada heading into the weekend. The Atlantic hurricane season runs until November 30th. I'm meteorologist Ross Hall.
So I just want to point out how early we are in hurricane season.
Right.
For that to be the 5th named storm.
In how many weeks now?
June 15th.
So.
The 5th named storm normally happens, as they just said, in late August.
Right. And this is roughly 3 weeks. 3.5 weeks. Or no, just shy of 3 weeks. Yeah,
But
that's
yeah, I mean,
horrendous.
and the strongest storms don't like ever come early in the season. The strongest storms come later in the season. So I'm hoping that most of them don't make landfall. That's really all I can hope.
Right.
Yeah, moving on. International. Why did I? Oh, that was international. Okay, so that's really all I got. Is there? Well, actually, I want to do our normal like weekly check-in on Myanmar. And I do want to talk about the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, though, because I've noticed some real hypocritical actions on social media pertaining to their celebrations. They put on some nice fireworks display and, flew a bunch of red flags around, and apparently it's brainwashing and propaganda. But less than a week later, we did the same thing here like we do every year.
Right.
But it's not brainwashing and propaganda when we do it.
No, that's just hypocrisy of, the systemic racism going on there. Because literally it's always pointed at like that whenever it is a country that has a majority population of people with pigment. But it's okay for, everybody in Walmart to bust out in song singing the national anthem, and that's not fucking being brainwashed. Okay. It's American exceptionalism.
Oh man, I have missed
comments.
Some comments, yeah.
What's up?
Ron said Trump just pulled shit out of his ass. At least Joe has some facts behind what he said. I'll concede that, but the mentality is still the same. He wasn't lying when he told his donors nothing will fundamentally change. He still stands opposed to socialized medicine. He still stands opposed to raising the minimum wage. And I mean, I'm basing this off of how the entire party is acting about it. Oh, well, we can't get the Republican votes. Okay, so you force the vote.
Just don't do anything.
Right, exactly. So you force the vote, and then we have a literal yes and no checklist of who to reelect, regardless of party. Oh, you're for socialized medicine? All right, let's fucking do it. But no, they won't do it. The Democrats will not do it.
Well, there needs to be a cross-referencing fucking checklist also for campaign promises versus what did you actually fucking do? Because so far we're like 0 for 5 or 6, and during campaign season, it's like, oh yeah, the Democratic Party's going to do this great shit. Sounds awesome. Here's a list. And now that we're, halfway through the first year of his fucking presidency, well, has any of that even been started on? Anything done? No, none. The Democratic Party turns around like, yeah, the best I can do is nothing.
Right. And I mean, even the more progressive ones, I mean, I'll still always admire Bernie because, I mean, even if I currently don't think that he's far enough left, he was a key part of my radicalization, and I'm not going to try to denounce that at all. Plus, I mean, if we can't have him as president where he's at right now, really should give him the Trump card, but it doesn't because the fucking Senate parliamentarian can overrule him. But that being said, I mean, Bernie has been trying to say if progressive demands aren't met, then he's not voting on the infrastructure bill. And they need his vote to pass anything. Right. So, I mean, I'll give him credit, but where is AOC taking that same line? Instead, AOC is talking to media, talking about how Joe Biden's doing such a great job and denouncing the socialists, saying that they, haven't achieved anything, yada, 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 instead of, talking about why. Which is also
All
funny
I-
because she describes herself as a democratic socialist and then says that socialists don't accomplish anything.
She's too busy sucking on the DNC's proverbial cock right now. She's gone full DNC bootlicker, however the fuck you want to put it. If there is an opportunity to get the fuck in line with the party instead of, I don't know, in line with her own campaign promises, she takes the party.
And then Nina Turner is, she released her official platform the other day, and she's talking about making Medicare for all a state-by-state basis. Like, her campaign includes advocating for state-level legislatures to implement a Medicare for all policy. I see that as far more far-fetched than getting it done at the federal level.
Right. Not to mention it doesn't go far enough because, okay, like for example, right now, if you're say on Medicaid in Michigan, your Medicaid's only good in Michigan. If you're out of state and get sick or injured, you're fucked until you get back home because you don't have any coverage. State by state level does not go far enough. Doesn't fucking help.
I totally agree. So
Like,
I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the rift between the actual left and the Democrats is coming to the fore again.
Yeah.
The only reason any actual leftists were involved with the DNC at all was Bernie's presidential campaigns, was the campaigns of the squad, who I'm not saying that they all have gone back on their campaign promises, but most of them have. And then, Nina Turner is saying, oh, if you're disappointed in AOC, you're going to be disappointed in me. And then less than a week later, she releases her platform advocating for a state-level Medicare for all. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, you're taking these barely socialist to begin with policies that are already watered down by trying to make them palatable for the Democratic Party, right? And then you're weakening them even more. We don't need this kind of step-by-step reform that's going to get overturned in the next election cycle. We need lasting change.
But Rob, this is the DNC's fucking play-by-play directly from their playbook of if you're starting with half measures, you better quarter them and then eighth them and then cut them down to a 16th.
Isn't that a Dean joke?
I don't know.
I feel like I've heard Dean do that. Maybe Dean's just on my mind. I miss you, Dean. I know that you're probably going to listen to this eventually, and I miss you.
I miss you too, man. Like, dude, I miss him. I miss Austin, which at least Austin's gotten to join us a couple of times recently. But, like, yeah, it's not the same without having the whole crew.
I agree.
But yeah, who knows? That very well could be a Deanism. It wouldn't surprise me. It just fucking entered brain, exited mouth, because no filter. And so if he has said that before, he would not be wrong. It's just an observation that the DNC just starts from a fucking compromised position in every fucking facet. Doesn't matter what problem they're supposedly addressing.
And I mean, I do understand that we have to start somewhere to drag what's left of our democracy from the far right that it's been beaten to over the last 30 or 40 years especially. But that doesn't make the Democrats the left. I think that one of the two major parties is going to go away and the other will remain as the right-wing party. And I think an actual leftist party is going to pop up that probably is already around, and actually be a voice for the people. Because I think at this point, I'll say more people. It's still not enough, but more people are realizing that the two-party system is fundamentally flawed and it's broken.
And it's not representing anybody on the left.
Right, at all. I mean, even if you're just a democratic socialist, that's not represented in our government.
Right.
I
And
mean,
that's
we
like
have
center.
neoliberals and quasi-fascists represented in our fucking federal government.
Right. But basically anything that isn't inherently pro-capitalism is, you know, I don't know, frowned upon, treated like fucking it needs to be demonized or something because it doesn't worship the fucking almighty dollar. But the fact of the matter is lives are more important than money. There's no excuse for shit being run the way that it is right now, and we need to actually fucking see a shift there. Whether it be a unification and, you know, some actual solidarity happening between all of these various parties that are actually on the left coming together. There has to be an end to the infighting so we can actually get something done. Because if we were to unify...
Well, I mean, I think there also needs to be a real vanguard party if we're going to have any sort of communist influence movement.
Right.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, the Party for Socialism and Liberation is trying to take a dual power approach, you know, both in and outside of electoral politics, but electing a couple of socialists, a couple of Marxist-Leninists in that matter, to Congress or even to president isn't going to change this system. We need to build
many seats at the table.
Right. And I mean, that's how Germany got their social democracy. The Social Democratic Party that we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what we need to see here is actually having a fair number of these seats represented by the amount of population that is actually leftists, which just keeps growing as more people are going, wait a fucking minute, we can see these inherent flaws in capitalism, and it's driving them further fucking left, radicalizing people, and it's, you know, the system is fucking scared. Fuck, look at what Facebook's doing this week. Like, oh my God, if you're afraid that somebody's being radicalized, report them. Like, hold the fucking train.
Yeah, right. Like, we're fine with native genocide. We're fine with the enslavement of African Americans. We're fine with enslavement today for punishment of a crime. But the people that oppose this system, exactly.
You're the extremists. Like, wait, what? Having ethics makes us fucking extremists now? Like, get the fuck out of here.
Like, I believe that we should all, you know, have a place to live and have access to healthcare and food to eat without the fucking... That's the thing. Right now, it doesn't matter where you work, an employer can always hold that over your head. Oh, well, where are you going to sleep? What are you going to eat? And you will always contribute to the system for that reason. Enough is
for your own
enough.
survival. I mean, you have limited options. You can, you know, stop working for other people and create your own business, become an entrepreneur if you have certain types of skills as well as assets. Let's be honest, it takes money to fucking actually start anything up along those lines. So only if you already have some capital can you comfortably do that without losing your entire ass in the process. You know, but land of freedom, competition drives everything here. Don't you want to be successful? I want to plant my successful foot in your ass. Not yours, but, you know, theirs. Like, so frustrating. Until we see economic equality, we're going to keep dealing with these same fucking circumstances. People like to talk about how they'd love to end world hunger. What's your greatest wish? Oh, world peace. But they're not willing to cut the funds for war and, I don't know, put them into feeding people. Hypocritical at best. And rant. Anyway. As you can see, we are on Facebook. We have our page as well as the support group, which has now been renamed the education group.
Education and discussion.
Yes, because discussion is always welcome at the table. We also have our mutual aid organizing group. We can be found on Twitter at For We Are Many Too, on Instagram at For We Are Many Podcast, as well as on TikTok, and on YouTube at For We Are Many Podcast. We have our webpage, www.forwearemany.org. We are currently building more content there.
I was also going to say, if you have any experience in WordPress, or if you are a content creator and you would like to join us, let us know. We honestly need some help since Dean has been absent lately. We don't know what the hell we're doing with WordPress, if we're honest. It hasn't been updated since May, and we want to be able to post articles like we were, and we want to be able to host our live streams there like we were talking about. So if anybody is more familiar with WordPress than I am, we'd like to hear it from you.
Right. Please help. If you'd like to write a column, we have room for that on the website too. We, had started setting up a couple of columns for writing articles and stuff. There's definitely room to grow there. Same for if you produce any type of video coverage of events going on, whether it be protests.
Yeah, I mean, for that matter, I don't care if it's a 30-second clip or, an interview that you got with somebody on the ground, or whatever. It doesn't have to be, a full in-depth news story. Although, I mean, if you want to do that, I'm not opposed to that either. But if all you want to do is take a couple of clips, that's fine.
Right.
We just want to show that there are other people that are like-minded, that are out there in the real world, building the world that we want to see tomorrow.
Right. And amplify those voices. Be able to actually, bring some more solidarity to the table. If there's a protest going on that isn't being covered by the mainstream media, but needs to be shown because it's fucking important.
Like the Line 3. Oh my God.
Line 3. Yes.
I brought up that I wanted to talk about that today, but I almost forgot. Well, not almost forgot, but I almost forgot to pull up the Unicorn Riot footage. Today, again, today there was more people. There was over a dozen people chained or otherwise locked to equipment today. Last time it was 3, I think. Hold on. 4 days ago. What? Well, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter that one's older. I don't really need to dig around for it. It's still this week. And obviously, I'm not going to sit here and play the whole 5-hour stream, but I kind of just want to show you what the situation is like.
Okay.
Holy shit. So the lady that is locked to the steering wheel of this thing up on the top was asking. So she got a cop to give her a cigarette and light it for her. I thought that was kind of cool, but oh, that's not the same. That's not even the same machine. Never mind. But anyway. I'm just going to kind of skip around here because I'm hoping that I'll cut into one of the spots where they're panning out and showing you the bigger thing. There's 2 work sites less than a half a mile apart, and almost every day these Lakota, well, they're not all Lakota, some of them are. That's one of the tribes. There's several, but these water protectors are going out there and risking arrest or worse every day, chaining themselves or lockboxing themselves into or through this equipment so the workers can't get anything done. And I've been seeing some really fucking gross comments
police are coming on site right now.
Like on their Facebook feed, there was so many right-wingers in there, and I'm just like, you still don't realize that water is more important than oil?
Right. No, they don't. They value fucking profits, and they're like, how dare you hold up the capitalism happening there? Fucking assholes. Like, because water is more important. Water will always be more important than this artificial thing we have created ourselves called money.
You know, found to be contributing to the sex trafficking industry.
That's what's up.
So, and those
Look
are,
at
you
the
know, just
size
the
of
people who
that
have been caught.
pipeline, though. And then think about the fact that it's going to be under pressure.
This current construction is already contributing to human trafficking, to sex trafficking.
The sign says honor the treaties and stop sign
recently
stop line 3
at
right. Also, if anybody is unaware of what she's referencing there with the human trafficking, it's because every fucking time one of these projects is happening on Native American land and bringing all of these fucking people in from outside, girls and women start disappearing from the tribes and being forced into sex trafficking. So that's what she's referring there to, drawing that line, connecting the fucking dots of every time you fucking oil tycoons come in, we disappear.
A potential non-easement and said,
well, not we, the journalist is white, the activists are
because of that, they were preventing vehicles from entering.
I was referring to women.
Line for Resistance camp
well,
that's privately
okay,
owned.
Fair.
It's in Hubbard County, but privately owned, and the Hubbard County Sheriff's Department was blockading and barricading people in and preventing people from leaving in vehicles. So that happened for about 2 days, and some water protectors ended up realizing and pointing out that the second river crossing for the Mississippi River was finished on Tuesday, and that might you know, have to do with the fact that one camp was blockaded during that time. When I spoke with the Hubbard County Land Commissioner about the timing and why that driveway was blockaded and barricaded, he said that there had not been a sign and there had not been an apparent easement for a while. He actually said he had, as long as he knew about it, it had never had one. So the timing was suspect because all of a sudden it was being enforced, and it does not seem to be normal practice for easements to be barricaded and prevent the private property owner where that easement leads to be barricaded if there's not an easement. You know, there might be like, it wouldn't lead to that easement being barricaded. Yeah, and as of Tuesday evening, police were not staying, like, parked right by that driveway entrance. So that timing suggested they may have been trying to prevent people from maybe trying to take action against the Mississippi River crossing drilling.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm going to pause this. Over here, where you see the stop sign, right, over here is another work site, and there's people that are locked onto equipment there as well. So,
yeah.
That being said, we showed a clip last week that showed a Native American woman who is an organizer of these events asking, well, I mean, anybody really, but ultimately, you know, fellow people on the left or Black Lives Matter. I mean, there was a lot of indigenous voices in Black Lives Matter last summer, but I mean, now it's time to return the favor. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. They need solidarity from all of the other groups that they have been protesting with for other matters.
In some cases for years.
Right.
But yeah, this is really coming down to the wire. Line 3 is almost done. There needs to be more people out doing this if they're really gonna have a real chance at stopping it or at swaying public opinion. I've also seen right-wing attacks say that what they're doing is violent. What I just showed you is no more violent than anything else in this 5.5 hours. They're not being violent at all.
Zero violence. That's not violent. That's literally defined as non-violent, peaceful protest.
I would refer to it as direct action rather than just simple protest. But
absolutely, it's both.
I mean, this is kind of one of the oldest tricks in the book for, these type of... I mean, when there was indigenous people in the Amazon fighting to defend the rainforest, that's exactly what they were doing. They were, chaining themselves to machinery.
To the trees.
Chaining themselves to the trees, exactly. So how is it somehow violent when an indigenous culture that's lived here for 10 fucking thousand years, how are you going to try to tell them that they are out of line by trying to protect their water? Especially when, at least in the case of the Lakotas, there is a prophecy in their culture, if I understand it correctly, that basically says that a black snake will run through their lands and poison their water, right?
Yeah. Oil.
Right. And then there will be a coalition of rainbow warriors, right, that will reverse the damage and bring about the golden age. Okay. So and there's a lot of mythology like this around the world. Okay. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that if we want a better world, we have to be those rainbow warriors. We have to be the generation that finally stands up. And it has to be a coalition of people of all colors and all stripes. Mm-hmm. It has to be the entire working class.
Right. It's going to take everybody coming together to do this. And we have the responsibility to do so. It's one thing a lot of people aren't wanting to see through their lenses of apathy, that this is our fucking responsibility. We're supposed to be stewards of this earth, not the fucking destroyers of it.
Yeah. I'm going to go back and check the comments, but then I'm probably going to wrap this up if that's cool with you.
That is indeed.
Natalie said, Bernie will always have a piece of my heart. I would still be thinking as a liberal without learning the difference. Oh my God, so
Same.
Accurate. So accurate.
Same. He radicalized a lot of us. And then we went further left than him.
Right. Which, I mean, honestly, I think that he has built his entire career on trying to find what is the far left in our government and kind of ride that line, He's trying to bring socialist policy into the mainstream discussion. I don't think that he really gives a shit whether or not he wins the elections or not. He's trying to change people's minds, and that's half the fucking battle.
Right. I'm even showing people that, even operating within the current capitalistic system, we can still put basic safety measures in place to make sure that nobody is living in total fucking destitution. And again, we have a responsibility to do so. I don't know who this quote is from at this point in time because I read this years ago, but they were saying that a society can be judged by how those who are best off in it treat those who are worst off in it. So the name didn't stick, but the concept certainly fucking did. Look at what we're doing to ourselves here, to each other. Look what we're allowing to happen. Shit's got to change.
As Grace Lee Boggs said, we are the leaders we've been waiting for.
Yep.
Angela Davis said something very similar.
And fucking indeed.
Natalie also
the
said
Rainbow
Trish.
Warriors.
Right, exactly. The Rainbow Warriors. You know, the Rainbow Coalition, founded by Fred Hampton of the Chicago Black Panther Party. You know,
uniting all poor people.
Exactly.
All working class.
Exactly. Anyway, Natalie said, Trish, I think they would need to cover emergencies out of state, even in an MCO and HMO insurance network in the state. The problem is that Medicare, or Medicaid rather, at the state level has been privatized, and it's literally state-based plans. You can't see a provider out of state without paying it out of pocket, in most states.
Right.
I think California's is a little bit different, and Vermont's is a little bit different. But other than that, I think it's pretty across the board. She also asked, is Dean doing okay? And frankly, I don't have a straight answer for you. The best answer I can give you is I hope so. I haven't talked to him that much in the past couple of weeks. I've been just trying to, give him his space. I don't want to pressure him into coming back before he's ready.
Right.
Natalie also asked, I think the current duopoly will fight it tooth and nail. And yes, they absolutely will. Look at what they do to the Green Party. The Democrats put up H.R. 1, touting it as didn't they call it the For the People Act? But it restricts access for third parties to get on the ballot.
Right. And how is that for the people? It's
right.
Not. But that's the fucking... One of the biggest points of propaganda in this fucking country is to just downright fucking lie about the contents of the bill in its name. Like the Patriot Act. There's nothing patriotic about any of that bullshit.
No. And I mean, not that I would like to necessarily follow in the footsteps of our founding fathers, but I feel like even our founding fathers would have been stacking bodies by now.
They would have. They stacked bodies over a fucking tea tax and shit. They'd be stacking bodies for fucking decades at this point if they were still around.
Fair. Natalie said both parties demonize the word socialism. I'm going to interject in the middle of your comment to say that that's because they are both neoliberal capitalist parties.
Bingo.
I was naive and really thought Bernie had a chance to win 2019. I think you mean 2020, and frankly, so did I. I mean, I had largely lost faith in electoral politics until Bernie announced his 2020 campaign. And I was like, oh, well, if Bernie wins and we get enough progressives in 2022, then maybe we have a shot. But that has changed. I don't think that electoral politics by themselves are enough anymore. We have to be out on the streets actually building the world we want to see. That's all there is to it.
Right. As much direct action as possible. It takes both sides of that equation. Yes, we absolutely need to make changes fundamentally in our fucking laws. But that, again, it's going to take both having some influence politically and fucking direct action. And just saying, given the history pieces we've been exploring lately, you can see that burning shit down gets shit done.
It's the only thing. In our history, the only thing that has enacted change is burning shit down. The Civil Rights Act came from burning shit down. The 14th Amendment came from burning shit down.
Burning shit down.
Or, John Brown building up a fucking slave army to slaughter slave owners. I mean, that is what got shit done.
Yes. Precisely. It requires taking action and going, okay, this might not be legal, but it's right. So is it the definition of right and wrong that needs to change, or is it the legal, form of protest that you're taking? Shouldn't you change the law instead of trying to change your stance ethically? Yeah, it's one of those things. Sometimes burning some shit down is absolutely necessary and called for.
Yeah. Natalie said, Rob, I was wondering if you still wanted me to be a group moderator for the Facebook group. Just to answer that, yeah. I sent you an invite. It's probably 5 days buried in your notifications at this point. I'll have to cancel it and send a new one probably. But yeah, we absolutely would enjoy that. I keep an eye on it when I can, but that's I can't literally be on my phone all the time. I'm already on it too much.
Right.
Same. And it's okay.
Only so much we can juggle on the glowing boxes.
Oh, right. I don't need your email for anything unless you want to get in on our Slack channel, which is kind of where we share things to put in the next current event stream, or, like mark where we are in the Black Panther Party stream. I mean, it's a pretty basic organizing app. But that being said, if you're not going to be like on the streams with us, which I'm not saying you have to by any means, but then there's not really a point to have you on there unless you want to be able to, share news articles to it for these streams or stuff like that. But if you want,
let us know how deep you want to get involved, and we will add you where you want to be added at.
Exactly. That's a better way of wording it. Natalie said nothing comes without some conflict, and exactly.
Right.
No, I want to thank everybody for showing out tonight. Our viewership was really, really good until Facebook until Universal fucked us. And I'm willing to bet that our claim will be accepted as soon as we're not live anymore.
Right. Probably. Which sucks, because, yeah. They keep booting our viewership, and then a lot of people don't know if we've come back on live or not,
Right. Anyway, that's all I got for tonight. It's been real. Natalie, at least you and Robert are mods on the page now, so at least you guys still got to watch it, even though it's not public anymore.
Great. Thanks for hanging with us.
Right. I'm going to have to message James and be like, hey, you're going to have to watch it on YouTube, which honestly, he could be. Let me check Restream real quick. We have a viewer on YouTube. That could be James.
Possibly. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, that's all I got. Thank you for joining us. We will be back on Thursday at 8 p.m. for our Revolutionary Left Book Club. And we will be releasing a piece on Eugene Debs on Wednesday. That'll be the same time as the streams are that it'll be released. We're not going to do it as a premiere because if we don't promote it enough, then literally nobody watches it. So, just keep an eye out for it. We'll share it around to groups like we usually do. We'll try to get it in front of you, but now you know about it. So, let's see. So yeah, Wednesday we have that. Next Wednesday we'll have part 2 of that. Thursday we have our Black Panther Party pieces, which is part of the Revolutionary Left Book Club. And then obviously next Monday we'll have the current event stream again. So plenty of opportunities to hear us or see us in the next week. And I've already said it a million times, but thank you guys for joining us.
Yes, thank you. And if there's anything that you'd like us to take a look into, just let us know and we will cover it on the next current event